Do you love making handmade cards? But sometimes you wonder about how you're going to give them to the recipient because they're just that little bit too thick for an envelope. Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video, we're making these really easy and super effective boxes to put your handmade greetings cards in. They come in two sizes. There's a rectangular one and a square one, and I'll show you how you can resize those to fit any size of card. They're really easy. All you do is just pull the lid off, and then inside you've got your lovely greetings card in there. So I've made this one with all the flowers, which is a 5 by 7 inch card, and then just put it in the bottom and put the lid back on top, and it's all nicely secure, and you can decorate the front however you want to. Now, one thing I will say in advance is these boxes are kind of not that sturdy, so I wouldn't recommend actually posting these or putting them in the mail unless you maybe wrap them in some brown paper or something like that, and then they should be okay. But they're really more of a presentation box for when you're actually giving the card to somebody in person. The SVGs to make these boxes are a free download from my website. So let's find out how to get them. You can download the free cutting file for this project at craftwithsarah.com/free-SVGs, or follow the link in the description of this video to go straight to the download page. The download comes in a zip folder, and you need to unzip this before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to get the box designs into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space and start a new project. If you already know what card you want to put in your box, then you can load that in too, which is what I've already done on the screen. This is my card that I'll be creating for the Cricut Card Making Summit, which is a new Cricut event which is going to be happening very soon. If you'd like to get the SVG for this card absolutely free, head on over to craftwithsarah.com/card-join to find out more. As well as this card, there are over 20 different cards from other Cricut crafters. And yes, you can get all those SVGs and project files for free, but only if you register using that link. All right, let's start with the boxes. And you don't, of course, have to use this card. You can use any card that you want to put into your box. So let's go to Upload and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the file on your computer, or you can drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the folder, and then within there is a rectangular box and a square box. I'm using the rectangular one because my card is rectangular, and then the file to upload is the one which starts SVG in the file name. Make sure you don't upload any of the other ones, they won't work right in Design Space. So I'm going to click and drag that in, and here is what it looks like. I have no idea why it's put those in completely different places, but that's okay, we can work with that. Let's press upload. I think Design Space is just having a moment. I'm going to click that and add to canvas. And it's also made it really small. Very strange. Okay, I'm going to try and fix this by the time you get this file. So if you load yours in, it should be one of these shapes on top of the other one. But if it still looks like this, here's how to fix it. I'm going to press ungroup over on here, and then click on one of these and press Shift and choose the other one. Or you could drag a box around both of them and go Align, Center to put one on top of the other. So one of these is for the bottom part of the box, and then the slightly bigger one is for the lid. Now obviously this is way too small at the moment. My card here is not going to fit inside this tiny box. So let's resize it. I'll make it a bit bigger to make things easier. And then my card, when this is folded, is going to be 5 by 7 inches. And I think the easiest way to do this is probably going to be to go into Shapes, choose a square, and make this 5 by 7 inches, because otherwise it's going to be hard to know exactly where the middle is on here. So I'll make this 5 inches wide, 7 inches tall. And then I can resize my boxes. First, I'm going to group these by selecting both of them and grouping them. And that means I can resize them both at the same time. And let's move this to the front. and now change in proportion, because what you don't want to do is make the bottom smaller and not the top, or the other way around, because then it's not going to go together. So now I can just drag my arrows to make this so that it will fit my card. And you don't want to go right up to the edge, otherwise it'll be a bit too tight to fit. So I'm leaving a little gap around the edge between this kind of black line and where my imaginary card will be. So this would be a great size to fit my 5x7 inch card. And if I just bring that in, you can see that it's going to fit once it's folded. Okay, I don't need that anymore, so let's delete it. And next we need to format the score lines. These solid black lines on here at the moment are going to be scored, not cut. So let's ungroup these layers by clicking it and pressing ungroup, and then I'll move them next to each other so that we can do them one at a time. I think I just resized that when I moved it, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I really don't like these new handles on the side of the layers in Design Space. It's something they've added in recently, and I keep doing it by mistake when I'm trying to move something. So there we go. I've pressed the undo key a few times and got that back to the correct size. To format the score lines, you want to look down the layers panel and find those kind of just solid black lines. It's the ones that look a little bit invisible in the layers panel. Click it and then go into the operations drop down and change it to a score line. Now, if you'd have done this and the whole thing turned transparent like that, that means you have selected the wrong thing. That means you've selected the whole group. So you've got the base bit that you're going to cut from card and the score lines. That's not what you want. You want the base bit to stay with the colour and only the score lines to change. So to show you again on this one, you would click just the score line layer. You see that's the only one that's highlighted, and then change it to score. We're not quite finished. We still need to attach the score lines to the layer underneath. Attach is what tells the Cricut we actually want it to score on these bits of card. So I'm going to click my group. Here it is. And then, where am I going? Down the bottom of the page, press attach. And then do the same thing for the yellow one. And that is now ready. And you could just cut it out like that. You don't need to do anything else. But I like to add a few decorations on the front of my gift boxes. So first let's work out which one is the top, which is going to be the slightly bigger one. So that's going to be my yellow one. That one's bigger. All right. I actually don't want to cut it from yellow. So I'm going to change the colour to be the same pink that I've got on my greetings card. And I'll do the same thing with that one. Okay, so let's give this some layers on it, I think. I'll go into shapes and choose a square. And how big should we make this? Let's try 6 inches wide. Oh no, 4 inches wide and 6 inches tall. See how that looks. That's maybe a bit small. Okay, there's that one. And I'm going to do that from white so it really stands out against my pink. And then I'll duplicate it. And this one, let's do a purple. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so I can see a border of the white. Let's take 1/2 inch off each side. There. And then that will go in the middle. And these decorations, it really is up to you, and it does depend a bit on what card you're making. I'm going to use some of the flowers from my card on the box too, so it all matches beautifully. So I can ungroup my card, and then let's select one of those blue flowers and group it. And if you've got the SVG for this card from the summit, then you can follow along because you'll have all of these shapes so that you can do exactly the same thing. So I think I'll have 2 of them, maybe make them a bit bigger. And then let's go for darker purple one in the middle. Select one of the flowers, all those layers, and group it. And move it over. Actually a pink one would probably be better. Can't really see the purple one on the purple background. I'm just lining these up to get an idea of where I'm going to put them. But I like that. But I'd like one under... Ooh, moved it. I'd like one underneath too. So let's select all of them, which I'm doing by clicking one, and then with the shift key down on my keyboard, clicking the others. Duplicate that one. It's going to take a little while. Here we go. And then let's flip them vertically. That will look really pretty, I think. And now I'm going to delete this. I've already cut out my card, so I don't need to keep that one there. There's one more thing I'd like to do, which is to add the name of who this is going to on the front of the box. And this is going to be a Mother's Day card, so I'm going to write Mum. So let's go into text. Write out, ooh, can't spell, Mum. And then have a little look for a pretty font. That's quite nice. And then there are a couple of ways you can do this. You could cut the letters out from card and stick them on. If you're doing a long word though, they might be quite small and it'll be hard to get them exactly in the right place and to get your glue on those thin areas. Another way you can do it is to cut the word out of your top rectangle and then it will show the colour underneath, a bit like a stencil. This font would not be a good choice for that though, because we've got these little loops in the middle of the M's and they would all kind of cut and fall apart when we make the card. So I'm going to change my font to something different. I don't like that one. I'm going to choose a different one. I'm so fussy. It'd be that one. Okay, I like that. So if you were using a word that had closed letters in it, so O's, A's, P's, Q's, anything like that, R's, where you end up with a little gap in the middle, you may want to choose a stencil font instead. And that means that you won't then have to glue on all the middles of all those letters when they cut from the stencil. Let's show you that. So in here, actually, let's change it to Mum. So if you were to cut this as a stencil, you'd then have to glue the middle of the O back in because that's going to cut out too. Otherwise, you'll just end up with a really weird cut out oval. With a stencil font, you don't have to do that. So if we type stencil in there, these ones come with little gaps in the letters, so it's not going to have that problem with the middles. I'm not sure I've explained that very well. I can already tell I don't like that. Let's choose a different one. Cricket alphabet stencil. Okay, so here you've got the little gap in the O. I'm not quite sure why it's gone lowercase because I definitely typed in uppercase. Maybe I didn't. Anyway, so there we go. To turn this into a stencil, select it, press shift and choose the rectangle underneath. And first go into align center horizontally or align center if you want it exactly in the middle. And now that's in the middle of my rectangle. I'll need to move my flowers about a bit, but that's okay. And then all you need to do is press attach. And now it's going to cut the letters out of that purple rectangle. To send it back below the flowers, click align, send backwards, and just keep going until it's back at the bottom. And there we go. My flowers are showing closer to the bottom than the top. I'm not going to worry about fixing that though, because this is just giving me a rough idea. It's all going to cut as separate pieces anyway, so what it looks like on the screen is just to give a little idea. All right, this is ready to cut. So first I would recommend saving your project so that If you want to make another one, you don't have to do all those changes again. And then go to make it. And this will separate out all of the colours for you. You can change the paper size in here. And then when it comes to the outlines of the edges of the box, you should see your dotted lines on top of them. And this is how it should look. So you've got the outline and then the dashed lines down there, and the same for the other side of the box. You do need to change the paper size for every single colour in there. And what you can do if you want to is move things about to take up less space. Just make sure that you don't overlap anything like that, otherwise it won't cut out properly. So go ahead, get everything looking exactly as you want it to. Click continue to connect to your Cricut machine, follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut out, and then I'll show you how to stick your little card boxes together. Here are the pieces of my card box cut out, and I'm going to move my decorations to one side for the time being and start with the actual box construction. My card ripped a little bit on one of the tabs, but that's okay, it's not going to show once it's stuck together. I like to use glue to stick these together, but you could use double-sided tape if you prefer. First, I'm going to turn over one of the sides. It doesn't matter if you start with the base or the lid, and then fold upwards along all of the score line. Go. Push down nice and firmly along the folds to get a nice crisp edge. You could run your Cricut brayer tool down it if you want, or a bone folder or something like that, but I don't have one handy, so I'm not going to. Once you've done that, then fold all of the little triangles on the edges inwards along their score line. So just tuck those in. Be careful because sometimes the card does try and sort of fold its own random place and not along that score line. So I'm just watching this one. This is my one that tore. Okay. And one more. Done. Alright, now all we need to do to make this is to just glue the tabs to the other side, corresponding side. So here's my little triangle. There it is. I'm going to fold that upwards, fold that side up, and just glue that to the triangle. And I'm going to do two at once. We'll see how this goes. So, I just think it's a little bit easier doing the both of them at the same time because you can hold them both in place. There's my glue. And number one. And number two. And it doesn't always want to hold, so you probably just need to hold it in place until the glue dries enough for it to remain in place. What you could also do is add a little craft peg if you've got any to hold it still, or a paper clip. And I do actually have some paper clips on my desk. Amazing. Let's do that. I'm just going to go over both of those, and that'll just hold it in place until the glue is dry. And that means I can start on the other side. So exactly the same thing. Glue on both of those little triangles. And then fold upwards. And stick to the tabs. Make sure your sides are nice and straight and vertical. Here we go. I've used quite thin cardstock for this, so mine's sort of bowing out a little bit, but that's okay. Right, that looks a little bit weird with all of the paper clips on the side. But I'm going to put that over here for it to dry and then do exactly the same with the other piece. There are my two pieces, and I'm going to let them completely dry before putting my card in. So next I can work on the front. And I've done this in slightly different colours. This is the one, ooh, where is it? This is the one I showed you at the start of the video. So this is just a little bit darker. And I am going to glue everything because I don't want my card box to become too thick. But if you're not worried about that and you'd rather have kind of a beautiful box, I'm not sure how this is stuck to my fingers. Yeah, you could use foam squares if you want to give it some dimension. I've got glue everywhere. Okay, first I'm going to glue this bit on to the white. Now, this is quite fragile on those little bits in the letters, so I'm going to add some glue in there to make sure it doesn't accidentally get torn. I love doing the little cutouts of the letters, it just stands out really nicely. And then next I'm going to make up the flowers, but I'm going to make them up individually before sticking them on the card. I've cut all my petals out of the same colour on this one, whereas this one, they're different. I actually think I prefer it differently, but I like experimenting, so they're all the same on this one. A little white bit goes in the middle. These flowers are my new favourite thing. I think I'm going to be using them a lot. And don't forget, if you want to get them, then sign up for your free ticket to the Cricut Card Making Summit. Check the link in the description of the video for more information on that. And I'm really looking forward to it, actually. It's the first time this summit's run, and it is entirely Cricut and card making themed, which, as I'm sure you know, are my two favourite things, paper crafts and cricketing. So there's going to be loads of classes over the 4 days, and my flower card is one of them. So I'm just adding all of these on. Here we go. And I'm sure by this point you've kind of got the idea of what I'm doing. So I'm just going to pause the video and get the rest of them stuck together, and then we'll add them onto the front of the box. My flowers are all stuck together now, and I've put a little sparkly silver gemstone in the middle of each one too. So it's time to get them onto my little design here. I like to line them up before I stick anything down, just to make sure I'm happy with everything before I start gluing. Overlap those ones a bit, so it's almost making a little frame around the word. Excellent. Now I know where they roughly go, can start gluing. Or again, you could use foam if you want to give them a little pop out from the background. Top done. Now for the matching on the bottom. 1 flower. 2 flower. And flower. All right, now all that's left is to stick this to the top of my card box, but I'm not sure which of these is the top, so I'm gonna have to just try it out. Take the paper clips off because my glue should have dried by now. There. And then which one's bigger? I think this one's my lid. It is. There, it goes over it perfectly. Now mine's a little bit gapy on the sides, and it is because I've used lightweight card. If you use heavier card, then it will go in a little bit more securely. But here's my lid. So I can just glue this one on top. Oh my god, my glue had not dried. I love it when these things happen on camera, so you can all experience me making a mistake. Okay, let's pause this video, go and make a cup of tea and let my glue dry, and then I'll stick it to the front of my card box. Right, I will be back shortly. Okay, I'm back after that slight embarrassment, and now I can glue this onto the lid of my card box. It's always good to laugh at these things. Right, I'm gonna add quite a bit on here so it doesn't come off. And then put it right in the middle of my lid. Bend my edges in a little bit so they're a little bit straighter. There we go. And then I've got the bottom. I've got my 5x7 inch greetings card, which fits perfectly. It's going to keep all those flowers really secure. And then the lid just pops on top like that. And my card is nice and secure. I'm not going to turn it all the way upside down because I know that glue is going to cause me problems again. But here is my card box. And here's the other one, so you can see how it kind of looks in different colours. And these are a lovely way to display your greetings card to make them that little bit even more special than they already were. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to make these boxes for your handmade greetings cards. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and free SVGs. Thank you for watching. Bye!